Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to the right side of campus for Monday, December 10th, 2018. I'm your host, the big man on campus, getting you ready for another week in sports. We recap what happened over the weekend and get you ready for a Monday night football game. Seahawks and Vikings. We'll chat about that and more. Let's bring in our co-host, Donnie. Donnie, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How about that Bears D last night? Absolutely suffocating the Los Angeles Rams. A lot to go over. We like to play Monday morning quarterback. Some interesting stuff there that happened on Saturday. We'll talk a little Heisman, but another day, another dollar. See what's what. And a big game tonight, Jeff, with some NFC playoff implications in football.
Please hit the like button. Let us know you are out there. Say hello in the chat box, and make your voice heard here on a Monday. Lot to chat about. Before you do anything today, make sure you're checking out all the things that SBR has to offer. All sorts of things, from write-ups to blogs to the forum. You can take a look at odds, and you can, as usual, communicate here on the shows. A lot of different great shows to take a look at: soccer, football, basketball, all sorts of stuff. Make sure you take a look at everything that SBR has to offer. And like I said again, make sure you are hitting the like button. Couple people in here. Welcome into you guys. And everyone that joins, welcome in. Let's get into the headlines here. We'll start off with who do we want to start out with? Let's start out with
Go right in order. Let's go right in order.
What do you mean start right in order?
Yeah, NFL refs banner day. Let's get right after that one.
Yeah, but Donnie, listen, here's why I do this. Okay? I just want to make this clear. Okay, so we have the NFL we're going to talk about mostly in this thing. So
Yeah.
I was going to get out of the other stuff out of the way and then bring up NFL refs instead of talking about NFL refs and then talking about three other things and getting back to the NFL. So that's kind of how I do that. If you've always wondered,
but then we forget. Then we always forget. Then we just drop it down and be like, we didn't even talk about that one thing we hit in there. We have one track mind, Jeff. We have one track mind.
Well, I know how to host. I got it. I'll take care of it. Bulls. The Bulls lose on Friday night or Saturday night, whatever it was, by 56 points. Look, I often wonder how this happens in the NBA. I don't know what's going on with the Bulls. I know they have a new coach. How do you lose by 56 in your worst home loss ever? How does that happen?
Yeah, you know what's interesting about it with the Bulls and Boylan there, Jeff, is the NBA is run by the players. The coaches have very, very little input on what happens. Like if a player wants a coach fired, he just walks into the owner, says, I make way more than the coach does. I need him fired, or I want out of here, and I'll just force my way to LA or New York like everybody else tries to do. But the coach comes in after firing Fred Hoiberg, Jeff. You know what a great thing to do in the NBA is with NBA players? He called it the shock and awe. Extra long practices, extra long meetings, benching starters for long stretches of times. That doesn't work out too well in the NBA, Jeff, does it?
No, it's a stupid strategy. The Bulls are a mess, man. Real mess. They're embarrassing. They're hard to watch. For as good as they've been, in the 90s and those terrific teams, they are at the complete bottom of the NBA. There's no excuse to lose by almost 60 points as an NBA team. I just disgusting, really disgraceful. You got to go out and hire a real coach too. Jim Boylan ain't a head coach. Get out of here with that. Let's move on. Kyler Murray wins the Heisman. Great, good for him. I think it's a bad decision. I don't think he was the best player in the country. Tua Tagovailoa to me was the winner, but Kyler Murray, they love Kyler Murray, the baseball player, all that stuff. They love that stuff. So he won the Heisman, Donnie.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really a surprise when you saw it coming down the stretch and the odds completely shifting into his favor. I always like to give the Heisman, Jeff, best player on the best team because, it is a team game, right? Overall. So, you say, well, Tua didn't have that many fourth quarter opportunities and they blew everybody out and his defense, they're up, 28, 35 points, whatever it is. You can't really hold that against him, but it seems like they did. And you know what? It always goes against it. You can't take anything away from Kyler Murray. The guy's an exciting athlete. He's a very good college football player, and we'll see what he does in Major League Baseball. But you sort of have to downgrade it a little bit, right? Because you have the perfect storm, the perfect cocktail. And they did, and also with it happening the same thing last year. Oklahoma last year, shitty defense. Great system on offense. Baker Mayfield wins the Heisman. Rinse and repeat. Let's make sure we have an extra shitty defense and a great offensive system, and then you get a Heisman Trophy winner. We'll see if they can do it again next year for Oklahoma, because it seems like, Jeff, they have the perfect tonic. You play in an awful, awful conference that plays no defense, and your team doesn't play any defense. So therefore, it's 55-55 in the fourth quarter every single game. You're going to put up a lot of stats.
Exactly. Great point. You're playing, and that's why I don't, this is 2 straight years where an Oklahoma player wins the Heisman Trophy. It's really, again, if you're just going to grade it on offense and how well that player plays, you got to look at who they're playing and who they're going up against every week. Again, it's kind of like the old adage, Donnie. If I'm in 8th grade and I'm playing 6th graders, I'm probably going to have way better stats than everyone else. But what do we know, Donnie? We're just doing a morning show in America somewhere. That seems how it should be. If you had a Tua ticket, again, I hate to say it, but I don't mean to say I told you so, but I am. Alabama players don't win the Heisman as far as quarterbacks. They just don't. And Donnie, I don't know.
And you can't. You can't. You physically can't unless you have who would be a good guy to have. Let's just say if now the team wouldn't be as good, but James Franklin as the head coach of Alabama. Tua would have played every snap, and he would have called, I'm talking about winning 56-21 in the fourth quarter with a minute to go. James Franklin would call timeouts to make sure his offense still moved down the field and could get that extra touchdown pass put in the end zone. But that's not the way Nick Saban operates, and you shouldn't operate it like that. They'll have their chance. It's actually really cool, though, Jeff, that Tua doesn't win the Heisman. Kyler Murray wins it, and then they get to match up here in the next week. And also, it'll be interesting and fun to watch next year, Jeff, when Tua is the starting quarterback again at Alabama, and maybe they go on their, Michigan's failed revenge tour, but maybe Alabama has a revenge tour for Tua and says, we're just going to leave him in the entire game, see what happens.
Now keep in mind, to you people that bet Tua, some of you bet him at 4-1. 4-1 before the season. And an Alabama player's quarterback has never won the Heisman, ever. And you bet him at 4-1 after 1/2 of football. Maybe you need to make a better bet next time. But I agree, should have won. Donnie, Harold Baines going into the Hall of Fame. I was blown. I thought this was a joke. I thought someone tweeted this and it was like a joke. I didn't think it was a serious thing. But he got the call to Cooperstown on Sunday night. And according to him, I'm very shocked today of his election by the Veteran Committee. Listen, I remember Harold Baines, Donnie, played on the White Sox.
Teams, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, I remember he was just like a random regular guy. He was good, but I mean, you look at his career numbers, 22-year career, he had 289, made 6 All-Star teams. He driven 1,628 runs. Good hitter, surely, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of his 60% of his games were his designated hitter. His wins above replacement were obviously pretty good, but not unreal. I don't really understand this. We're starting to give out invites to people that don't deserve it, Donnie.
Yeah, it was voted on by the Veteran Committee, not actually the baseball. Well, the baseball writers are a bunch of knuckleheads anyway with the way they vote. But the Hall of Fame is meant for a generational talent that's head and shoulders above everybody. Is the way I like to grade it. He's in the Hall of Fame. You know what that means, Jeff? He's one of the 2-3 best players ever in 100 years at his position. And I see Harold Baines get in, and all you have to know, Jeff, is you shouldn't get credit for playing with longevity. I just don't think so. Bartolo Colon's not going to the Hall of Fame, not because he wasn't a good pitcher, but you can't just say, well, look at all the wins and the strikeouts because he played 900 years of baseball. Howard Baines, I think it was, Jeff, 6 All-Star teams in 22 seasons. That's Hall of – no. If he had 20 All-Star appearances in 22 seasons, I would say, Dan, you know what? He's a Hall of Fame caliber player. When you just see it washed – and again, it doesn't mean anything to me. I could care less if Howard Baines is in there. I just think it waters down the product because when you look at a Hall of Fame player,
You're also – you look at other people involved. I mean, Edgar Martinez, to me, is much more deserving of being in the Hall of Fame over Harold Baines. I mean, Edgar Martinez at 312, You know, 309 RBI home runs, 514 doubles, drove in more runs. He was a great hitter, made more All-Star teams. You know, I feel like he did more in the scheme of things. I mean, Harold Baines just like a regular player. I mean, he was better than a very average player, but he wasn't a great player that I feel like is in the top 10 baseball players every year or anything. He was just like a good player. Like Donnie, do you remember Fred McGriff?
Crime Dog, sure, absolutely, man. Yes.
Like, do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Well, now I guess he's going to be, or he should be.
But like that's kind of what I think like Baines is. Like he's like a Fred McGriff kind of player. Like he's good, but he's not great.
Yeah, Hall of Fame. You know, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron. You know, guys like
Joe
that
DiMaggio.
do monumental stuff. Yes, Joe DiMaggio. I mean, when you think about the Hall of Fame, Sandy Koufax. You know, Randy Johnson's going to end up getting in there, and Mariano Rivera. Say what you want about a closer, but is Mariano Rivera
like
the best ever
that,
do it at what he does? Yes.
Yeah, there's players that like they were influential to baseball. Like, let me ask you, Donnie, in baseball right now, can you name 10 Hall of Famers? Like, are there 10 people that are current Hall of Famers in baseball?
In baseball, yeah, you can. I mean, there's a million guys in the Hall of Fame.
No, I'm talking about currently in the league that will be in the Hall of Fame. You think?
Oh, in the league. I mean, baseball's out of my mind right now. I don't know if you could possibly name 10, maybe,
like
because
Mike
I mean, some
Trout.
of these guys are putting up ridiculous numbers. Yeah, Mike Trout's going to the Hall of Fame. Albert Pujols will end up being in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
So there's probably a good amount, but I don't know. Harold Baines never seemed like that guy to be like.
No.
I would think about. I don't know. Seems like a big stretch.
Tony Benns of the world. Yeah, like I mean, I'm talking about guys that like you could never get out. Like this is one of the greatest players I've ever seen play the game. Mike Schmidt at third base. You know, Brooks Robinson. Like guys that like shift the trajectory of the overall game.
Yeah.
Ozzie Smith, a defensive. I mean, forget he couldn't hit for anything, but a defensive wizard. You say, man,
or they're
Ozzie
just
Smith,
like
the slickest fielding guys ever.
Or they're just really terrific at their position or something. You know.
Yeah. Catchers like Johnny Bench, like yes, I mean Pudge Rodriguez, like damn, he's one of the best. That's what a Hall of Fame is.
Or they're
like
unbelievable hitters.
Player. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter that he's the nicest guy you ever meet. That shouldn't matter if you get into the Hall of Fame, John. I mean that I couldn't care less if he's a nice guy. I'm sure I'm sure he is.
Ty Cobb was supposedly killing people out there allegedly, and you know the ultimate racist, but he's in. You got to take what they do on the field and just say it doesn't matter. Hey, he answered every question of mine every time I asked. So what?
Exactly. Pete Rose though, not into the Hall of Fame somehow.
Yeah.
NFL refs. Let's get to it.
Yeah, that's his. Real quick on Pete Rose. That's his own fault. Everybody loves contrition, Jeff. When it came out, Pete Rose said, "I'm sorry, I was degenerate. I bet on baseball. I apologize." They'd have banned him for 5 years, Jeff, and you know what? They'd have let him in the Hall of Fame. But since he keeps upstage in Major League Baseball, that's why he's not getting in. So he did it to himself.
NFL refs, bad day for them. They game after game have major problems yet again. And again, I don't know why we're surprised by this. This is what the NFL does. This is what the refs are all about. Obviously, in certain games, refs were a major issue. The Eagles game, big problems. First play of the game, Donnie. You throw off the complete trajectory of the game. And I ask anyone out there with a competent football mind, how in the fuck was that not a clear recovery? If you want to explain that to me, I'd like to hear it. But there's 4 or 5 Eagles around, and the ball's underneath them. Maybe there's an imaginary guy under there for the Cowboys that has the ball. Maybe Casper the Ghost. I don't know. I didn't see anybody. It wasn't a clear recovery. That's right off the fucking top. And I'm not.
Yeah,
I
saw a pretty good tweet out there, Jeff, on that one that said, like, if the fumble wasn't a clear recovery, was it fumbled into another dimension?
Yes, probably. It fell underneath the stadium. That's what happened. It went underneath the stadium and down a hole, and the ball was gone. What else happened?
It doesn't even make like it was a clear fumble in there. Like like the whole thing. It didn't even make sense because when they went to review, I sat back down at my desk. I'm like, all right, good. Eagles get the ball. It's going to be a big game-changing play. Maybe the Eagles can punch it in and take that early momentum. And it didn't even make sense. And the best part about Joe Buck, it's almost like they're tipped into something. Like Joe Buck's like, did we have a clear recovery? And I'm shaking my head. Like, this is even before they even called that into concept. Like, you clearly saw the Eagles come away with the football. There were 4 Eagles laying on the ball with the returner to the left of the pile, not even in the pile. And for them to go to review and say, we're not really sure who actually got this ball, it didn't even make. So basically what they're saying is, Jeff, is if you go to the ground and there's 2 Eagles or 3 or 4 of your own teammates going for the ball at once, that means we're not sure which player actually got the football in the first split second. So therefore it goes to the other team. I don't understand. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. And no matter what they're releasing on their, they have to get asked after the game. It didn't even make sense. Like what they were saying didn't even make sense. I thought instant replay was just to change like the catastrophic play. Like this is wrong. You can clearly see this happen. It was just a baffling call.
The offensive pass interference was worse. That was a terrible call. And then you look at in other games. I talked about the Colt game. The terrible personal foul call in the end zone where the guy's literally on his knees. There's nothing else he can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could have changed the game. Lucky it did.
I mean, it's just must stop. When is it going to be fixed? And that's a great point. I said this at the beginning of the season. The NFL is becoming harder and harder to watch as a league. I mean, it's getting to the point where, unfortunately, Donnie, after every touchdown, you got to look for a flag. Every third down, you got to look for a flag.
Check the yellow, always. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's getting to the point where it's kind of irritating, man.
But why is it not like that way in college for the most part? You know why? Because the booth controls the reviews. Like I wouldn't even care, Jeff, if the refs were so bad on the field where they, the spot in the Rams game where the guy got it by 1.5 yards and they called him short by 1.5 yards, which, Sean McVay had to use a challenge to overrule an awful refereeing call. In college, you see a lot of these corrections made because they have unlimited buzzing technology, not in the last 2 minutes for the game. Hey, this looks like it's an egregious play. Let me push a button. Let me review it in the booth, not have a little screen on the field to take a look at it. Let's just review it in the booth. We have 4 to 5 guys here. We can see it, send the right call down. It would take you 1 minute, and nobody would get – does anybody get mad, Jeff, at the right play that it was changed? Even if you bet the team. Like, you know what? He caught that football, and they're going to change it. That's what you want. You just want some fairness in the game. And that's all they would have to do is go to a college-type system, and they would handle all those bogus referee calls.
Now, Donnie, did you watch the entire Bear game last night?
I did not. Late fourth quarter, I sort of tuned out in that game.
Well, yeah, there was a point in that game where Matt Nagy went nuts because they were trying
the ref
to –
got knocked down?
Yeah, maybe if the refs were 80 fucking years old and we have to call a timeout because a ref falls down. I mean, Donnie, when like an older person, like,
you're right.
When like an older person falls down and you have to like help them up and it takes them like an hour to stand up. Like, why do we have 80-year-old refs, Donnie? You have to literally call a timeout. Why doesn't the ref just get up? We have to make a big fucking scene about it.
Yes, he didn't bang his head. They didn't helmet no helmet, the ref. He sort of got tripped up and he fell down like on his side. But then you see him like roll over, but he's not getting like how many times have you ever just like said, hey, you slipped on something in your bathroom or you're coming down the step and you slipped a little bit and you just get up. Like it wasn't life and death. It wasn't like I fell down as the runner was crossing the goal line and I couldn't see. The other team was coming onto the field. You literally had 10 seconds to just stand up. And they blew the play dead. I couldn't even believe it.
They literally had to call a timeout because he fell down. I would have been flipping out if I'm that coach. Get up!
Because, yes, you plan all week. You plan like your whole season. Like one time, we're going to use this real quick trick punt where we're going to punt it, but we're going to run our regular players out there and surprise the other team. And the refs fuck it up.
Again,
you can't do it again because now it's on tape, right? Everyone's like, hey, watch for the Bears to do this. Nobody saw the Bears doing this. And then you finally get a chance to do it in a big spot in the game, which actually turned out well because they punted the football and I think got a turnover, Roquan Smith interception, if I can remember. But that was absolutely hilarious. Hilarious, man.
I mean, I literally watched, Donnie. I mean, I watch a lot of soccer and, I look at those refs. They're all like 35, 40 years old. Maybe 50. That's the highest go. But they're like super athletic 50-year-olds. The NFL is literally the only sport on earth where every ref is 70, 60 or higher. Like they're literally all senior citizens. I mean, maybe that's the reason they're not good. Maybe they're just not with it.
I mean, it's a really fast game, but I understand that there's so many rules that you need like a freaking lawyer. These guys are literally lawyers, Jeff, on their other day jobs because there's so many rules. Maybe you have so many rules that it doesn't make sense. But I just figure if you take it out of the refs' hands, because they're human error. Umpires miss strikes, and people make bad calls in the NBA. Nobody got fouled; they just blow the whistle because they thought they saw a foul. I understand all that, but you have to be able to just say you can't penalize a coaching staff or penalize the other team just because you got the call wrong. How many times do you see it, Jeff? Oh, he missed a call. Like, it was a bang play, so he challenges that and loses in the first half. Then in the third quarter, there was a touchdown catch, which wasn't. So they overturn it and they use a challenge. And then you don't have a third challenge. And then in the fourth quarter, when there's 8 minutes to go with a horrific spot, they're out of challenges. That's not the coach's fault. The ref. Why is the team held accountable because the refs made an awful call? It's ridiculous.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's pretty sickening anymore. Let's get into the NFL. Some things that we saw yesterday. Chiefs get the job done. They beat the Rams. They don't cover though. Nice win for the Chiefs. This team is, I think, just destined, man. I mean, the way they win games. I mean, it's the Ravens. It's that defense. They then missed a field goal and still another lease on life. They find another way to win. Great win for Andy Reid and the Chiefs.
My God, did they strike gold, Jeff? Did they not strike gold with Mahomes? I mean, he is outrageous. That kid is outrageous. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. They keep showing one of the replays. It was like a 15-yard pass where I swear to God, Patrick Mahomes wasn't even looking at the wide receiver like he was throwing a no-look pass out there for a first down. And that fourth down conversion, which I'm watching on TV, I'm like, damn, look at that. The Ravens are going to win this football game. They flush him out of the pocket. He has 2 feet before the sideline and throws a rocket across his body to the middle of the field and completes it to Tyreek Hill. This kid is absolutely outrageous. I mean, kudos to Andy Reid for finding him and coaching him up and putting him in an offense that absolutely works. That game was a lot of fun to watch. I have a lot of respect for the Ravens. Ravens went in there and held their own and arguably should have won that football game. But the Chiefs are really good, and it's hard to win on the road in the NFL.
Yeah, no, the Ravens were tough, played hard, great defense. Lamar Jackson did a nice job. They're a team that's right there. They're just, they couldn't find a way to get the job done. But you go in there, Donnie, again, overtime, it's all about winning the fucking coin toss, unfortunately. You don't win the toss, you pretty much lose.
Yeah, 10 minutes. And why is it when Jeff, I got to, you know what, you're so right on that. Why is it in the NFL? Like, you get the ball first in the NFL, and it's like 9 out of 10 times, it's like a 3 and out, or you get a first down, then you punt. Why does it seem like every single team in overtime who takes the ball first runs 9 minutes off the clock? Why don't they do that to start the football game? Why is it only in overtime? It's amazing to me.
Yeah, and you know what, Donnie? One of the dumbest decisions that the NFL, multitude of them, they make a lot of bad decisions, but one of the stupidest decisions I've ever seen was taking overtime from 15 to 10 minutes.
Yes. Well, yes.
Why?
Worst, it doesn't even make sense. It does. If you're going to take it to 10 minutes, Jeff, just have it first team scores. Doesn't matter because you only have 10 minutes. The fact that you said both teams can get a possession and then you can go down and kick a field goal and then the other team has the ball. Why is the other team penalized? Because the team who had the ball first kicked the field goal and now there's like 2 minutes left on the clock, so you're penalized. If you had a 15-minute clock, wouldn't that make more sense to say there's probably going to be an extra possession because a field goal doesn't end the football game? At least give the other team a chance. There's no reason it's not 15 minutes. You're so right.
Really stupid. I never.
Or how about give them a full 3 timeouts? How about 2? You get 2 time. Give them 3 timeouts then in overtime. Give them 5 timeouts then. Jeez.
Brutal. Dolphins, what a miracle this was. I got to be honest, too. If I'm the Patriots, and look, I know they're not going to do this, but I would take a good, long, fucking hard look at your defensive coordinator this morning after that absolute mess yesterday. Not only were they terrible the whole game defensively, but what the hell was that defensive stuff at the end there? What the hell was Rob Gronkowski in the game? Yeah, and safeties were sitting on the fucking sidelines. What was that all about? What the hell were you doing there? That was a weird weird play, and deserving if you're the Patriots. I don't know what that setup was. Why was Rob Gronkowski in the game?
It was almost like, Jeff, that they had like a brain cramp and thought it was going to be like a Hail Mary situation. Because I can see if you're at like the 50-yard line, you want your best athletes out there who can run, jump, and knock the ball down. That's why you see like wide receivers like Julio Jones. They used to put Randy Moss back in there. That makes sense. But the fact that they weren't throwing a Hail Mary to have a tight end in the ball game.
Real quick, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If you're the Patriots, whether it's a Hail Mary or whatever, that the lob or whatever they do, or the running, passing back and forth and that kind of stuff, why on earth would Rob Gronkowski make sense at all? I mean, I know
because he's like 6. He's like, yes. Well, that's the whole thing, because you're expecting
right now.
That feeds into my point. He is slow. If the ball was at the 50-yard line, Gronkowski would stand on the goal line, so he doesn't have to move. So when you just throw that Hail Mary up, Gronkowski just gets in the middle of it and says, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm just going to get my hands on this and knock it down. But the fact that he was actually in there to play defense, and I'm so happy it caught up to him too, Jeff, where he had the angle. If he just runs over, he pushes him out of bounds. But did you see the Gronk slip at the 10-yard line, which allowed him to score? It didn't make any sense. And secondarily on that, Jeff, like what are we doing on our defense at this point, right? You're on the 50, so they can't reach the end zone. So what does every single football team on the planet run at the end of the game, Jeff? The hook and lateral, right?
Yeah.
Every team runs it. Why did you get surprised by that? Why wouldn't you just have a fleet of DBs standing 10 yards back and say, I'm going to let these 4 wide receivers go behind me so they can't catch the football in lateral, and then I have 3 safeties deep over the top. It's game over. And they fall for it every single time. No pressure on the quarterback. Let the guy catch the ball at 15 yards, and you saw what happened. You saw it happen also, Jeff, in the Steeler game as well, which we're going to talk about in a little bit there. Who falls for that anymore?
I have no idea. Listen, there's no fucking sense in Rob Gronkowski in the game. Put a receiver in the game. He should not be in the fucking game. Sorry.
Or you take out your Pro Bowler, Evan McCourty out. Like, that wasn't good. Yeah, McCourty is out in the field, Jeff, and Kenyon Drake's running one-on-one. You know what he does, Jeff? Goes up and just gets in his way. They tackle him at the 10. Oh, look at that. Patriots won. Everybody walks. Jesus Christ.
Just absolutely hideous coaching. And after that defensive performance just today, see ya. I'd fucking fire him over that. And I'm surprised Belichick didn't do it.
They were playing pretty good defense that game, though. But for some reason, man, Patriots going down to Miami, it doesn't make any sense.
Fucking Ryan Tannehill. They're not fucking throwing a Hail Mary. They weren't even close anyway.
Like
60 yards away.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't even close.
I mean, seriously, stop. He's 6'6". So they're not throwing a fucking jump ball. They're not throwing a Hail Mary.
That's where they messed up. Like, who didn't? Like, first of all, Tannehill, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, missed a few games with a bad throwing shoulder. Yeah, so I'm doubting they really dropped. You're right. They dropped. You still should have. They still should have made the play. And B, like, it wasn't even like one of those. Remember when we saw the what was it, Central Michigan game on Christmas Eve a couple years ago? We had like 20 laterals, and it was just like a freak play. This had 2 laterals with Kenyon Drake at like the 40-yard line, and just like took it in like a punt return, real nice and easy. Well, I don't know what was going on out there.
Yeah, I was watching that on the NFL Red Zone, and I'm watching and I'm thinking, is this like a replay? Is this real? Like, because they flipped to it quick, Donnie. They did the old flipping thing quickly, and it's like happening as they flip, and I'm like, is this happening right now? And then I see it's the end of the game. I'm thinking,
maybe there's a lateral that went forward. There's no way it happens, and you watch it real quick on replays. Like, they really just got beaten that spot, which I love because I don't want to see the Patriots at home, and they're not going to.
Yeah, it's so great when they lose like that. It's like it's no better team to do that. You always you love seeing the Patriots lose. Saints. How about that second half, Donnie, for the Saints? They cover the second half.
We talked about the under in that game, which was nice. And then we talked about Tampa. And I'm saying to myself, man, I really should have fired extra hard on Tampa. 14-3, Jeff, second half, getting 10. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, I took the second half, so it wasn't as bad. But yeah, Tampa, if you had Tampa plus the points, that's a tough loss. It really is. Nice win by the Saints. Found a way to figure it out in the second half, and they're your number 1 seed, Donnie.
Yeah, getting bounced in that football. They were getting dominated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, absolutely dominated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, I'm watching the highlights right now. 14-3 Buccaneers. They strip sack fumble Breeze going in, and they lose that game. And if you had 10, I actually feel sorry for you if you had the 10 on that.
Also, I'm going to bring this up because I just want to ask, what in the world? Donnie, did you see that Frank Fleming worm video after the
Who?
after the that guy Frank Fleming, that bigger guy that he's it was going around. It was like
He's a
a
football
viral
player?
video. No. He's a friend of mine. He does like stuff with Barstool. He does. He's a big.
I thought you meant I thought a player like dancing in the game. Oh, go ahead. I know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah. He made this like video
Tank
of like
is his name, right?
yeah, the tank. Yep. He made the video of like him. Basically, the phone's like on the ground, and he's like, "It's time to do this calls for a worm, like the worm dance." And like it's going around, and I'm just thinking, what in the world is this? Like, and he's just like, funny video, but Tank. I gotta wonder what your downstairs neighbors were thinking of that. Donnie, you didn't get the chance to see that, so
No,
it's all good. You
I did not. What was he doing it for? What was he celebrating?
he's a big Dolphin fan, and it
was
after
okay,
like
gotcha.
it was like after the
He's a
game.
Mets and a Dolphins fan. That's a nice little combo.
Yeah, Mets, Dolphins, Devils. Yeah. Interesting though. Let's move on. Skins. I think they've totally quit. Remember when everyone thought they were going to win the NFC East? Not anymore.
And they had a nice lead in the division too. And I'm watching that game, and I was on the under 41, and I watched the first quarter. I'm like, this is hilarious. I don't know if these teams are going to combine for 10 points, let alone 41. But the problem is in the NFL sometimes, Jeff, you get caught up in where your offense is so bad, it's actually really good for the total. And that's what the Redskins were showing. When you don't, if there's one thing, Jeff, to get the ball on your own 20-yard line, get 2 or 3 first downs, stall out at the 50 and punt, and repeat doing that. Then there's another thing, just going 3 and out in like 30 seconds, which in college football you see a lot of that type stuff. And then it takes it to the next level. Like not only, Jeff, do you 3 and out in 30 seconds, you just throw willy-nilly interceptions all over creation, and the game just opens up right away. I think they had a ball on the 1-yard line with like 2 minutes to go in the first quarter, 0-0. Nobody could do anything. Mark Sanchez throws a god-awful pick, which I have to question, Jay Gruden as a head coach at this point. You're on the 1. You're on the 1-yard line with Sanchez. Dropping him back on second down is, for what reason? Interception. And that game ended up just in an absolute route runaway where the Skins didn't even want to be out there. They end up bringing in Josh Jackson, who's running some read option stuff out there. This team's an absolute mess, man.
Josh Johnson.
Exactly. That's how much respect I give him. Yeah.
Yeah. Colts with a big win yesterday. Major win on the road at Houston. Luck 399 through the air. This offense is good, man. I mean, T.Y. Hilton, unreal game, 9 receptions, 199 yards. Pascal with a touchdown. Ebron with a touchdown. Marlon Mack with a touchdown. And the interception Luck threw wasn't even his fault. It was a bobbled ball in the air.
Yeah.
Nice win for Indy. Indy looked real good, man. Defense looked solid. That's a great road win for them.
That was a great pick by you, man, because that's one of those spots in the NFL you sort of like where you say they were embarrassed the last week on the road. They couldn't even score a point, and then you go back them in this game. Line stays the same. Opens up around 5. 4 goes to 5, back to 4. They get down 7-0 and just turn it. Before you could blink, it was 14-7. Is there a prettier deep ball, Jeff, right now in the NFL than the deep post from Andrew Luck to T.Y. Hilton? My goodness. When he just lets that thing absolutely rip, man, it's awesome.
And they throw it a lot, too. I mean, it's a high percentage throw, and it always is a high percentage throw. Terrific stuff from Andrew Luck. I love that team, man. I've bet on them once or twice this year, and that was one yesterday where I think all week I was kind of thinking, like, I think they win. I just eventually the Texans.
You even said money line too. Yeah, I mean, hey,
yeah,
you didn't. It would have been a little bit more of a sweat, but I mean, it still came through.
Yeah, they go down 7-0, and I'm thinking, oh fuck, man, this Texas team is just what a luck
shut
box
them out again. They're going to go 2 straight weeks getting shut out. Yeah, no, I hear you, man.
But then it's the Colts with that big touchdown. They throw one of those 60-yard touchdowns. It's like boom, yeah. Right back in. Cowboys. the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, Donnie. Just not the Eagle year this year. And it's one of those seasons, Donnie, where you're just kind of ready for it to be over. I'm sick of watching Cravon LeBlanc and all these shitheads. I'm sick of watching. Look, Josh Adams is a nice player, but I'm sick of watching those guys. I just want this team to be back to normal. I'm sick of the injuries. I'm sick of. Listen, I know no one will come out and say it, Donnie. Carson Wentz needs to be better. I mean, Carson Wentz wasn't good enough yesterday. Carson Wentz still is having issues with holding the football too long. Some of his passes are all over the place. I mean, drops are a mess. This team I'm just sick of. I'm sick of the bad defense. I'm sick of not being able to get pressure on the quarterback, and you can't really do much because your corners are so bad. And for the love of fucking God, Donnie, make Rasul Douglas a fucking safety. He's not a fucking corner. Make him a safety. He played well yesterday, though. I got to give.
You're right. And there's a reason why he actually didn't. He doesn't play that much this year because he's not a great cornerback. But if your top 6 guys go down, somebody has to play the position. But you're right overall. You're right overall in the Eagles. Your perspective on that because what's not happening from last year is obviously forget about the injuries. But the Eagles leaned on one of the best running games in the NFL, and that opens everything up. Why does Dak throw for a lot of yards? Well, number one, because the Eagles have no secondary or linebacker, so everybody's wide open just about on every single play. But Dak can do that because when you hand it off to Zeke Elliott, the entire defense freezes. When you play action to Zeke Elliott, the entire defense freezes. I still like the Eagles running, read run-pass options in the third and fourth quarter when they're not running and the defense just surrounds Carson Wentz like it's the Indians surrounding like a cowboy out there. It's hilarious to watch how the disconnect, but anybody can run wide open. And I shudder to think, Jeff, what's going to happen now that the Rams lost on Sunday Night Football, which we'll talk about that game a little bit. I don't know, Rams 55 points in this game easily. I mean, did the Eagles even force them to punt? There's nobody left on that defense. Everybody's injured at linebacker. Everybody's injured in the secondary. And the front defensive 4 was getting good pressure and playing decent football. But if you just have 3 seconds to throw the football, you're wide open out there, man.
Rasul Douglas laughed massive. Rasul Douglas is one of the best players in the field yesterday. I'm not sure what game you were watching. And look, I've been critical of the Eagles' defense, but I thought they played pretty well yesterday, to be honest.
I mean, they gave up a ton of yards, but they forced exactly. Forced turnovers, kept them in the ball game, made some stops, but eventually that's going to run out. When you're not good on defense and you're always out there on the field, you're going to get ripped up on. Sidney Jones is on one leg out there hobbling around and just beating them deep left and right. You have guys off the street that you can't do much with.
He's a fucking glass house, and I'm sick of it. He's always fucking injured. Every play, he's got a hamstring issue. Like, dude, just go away, Sidney.
You see that a lot. You'll see next year. If he can actually play or should be out of the league. Because whenever you see these big catastrophic injuries like an Achilles or a knee, it just seems like the following year they have so many issues with like the imbalance and because you're rehabbing the one part, you're not, working on your legs, and all of a sudden you get back into football shape and you end up busting up hamstrings and doing all that stuff. You'll see next year, but it looks like a wasted draft pick at this point. But at least, he's not Markelle Fultz, I don't.
And we wasted a year. He waited around for a year for the fucking guy.
Yes, you did.
Now you could have taken Awuzie, who was there, and he's been playing. Now, Donnie, let me ask you. You saw yesterday with the Eagles in the second, basically in the fourth quarter. The play calling was elevated. They're throwing the ball down the field. Why don't they do that the whole game? I don't understand the play call.
How about the one series, Jeff, where they got inside the red zone. They get a holding call on the goal line, and they have a 2nd and 11. They hand the ball off to Wendell Smallwood. Then the third down call was like a quick slant to Zach Ertz at like the 8-yard line, which was incomplete. And I say to myself, I know Byron Jones is a really good cornerback. I know they have a good secondary, but why are you not isolating Alshon Jeffrey one-on-one and throwing it up to him? Isn't that what you got these big body guys for? I don't know, man. You're right. I don't know. It just doesn't make
sense. The old
invisible for the entire game, too.
The old Army Air Force option play was pretty good also. It got no yards.
3rd and 1 was tremendous. Yeah. Great call on third.
Great play. I also love Malcolm Jenkins, who talks so much shit all fucking week and after every game, yet he has Ezekiel at the fucking backfield and he lets him get a first down. Listen, the last drive was maddening. That touchdown drive.
And Jason Garrett fucked up the drive. This is what makes it so crazy. Like Jason Garrett, you have to think as a head football coach in certain instances, this isn't a normal game. If you just tie the Philadelphia Eagles, you win the division. It's yours because it's the same almost as a victory because you hold the tiebreaker, which is the most damning thing that's going to go down the stretch the rest of the way. So they get that 4th and 1, and it was like 1.5. It wasn't like 6 inches, like, all right, let's go for it. If he kicks that field goal and they make it, what are the chances that the Eagles drive down in under 2 minutes and get a touchdown to win the football game? Probably slim to none at that point. Maybe they can get in field goal range to kick a field goal, but the Eagles wouldn't even be kicking a field goal, Jeff. Even if they had the ball 4th and 6 from the 11-yard line with 3 seconds to go, they wouldn't even kick the field goal because the field goal doesn't help the Eagles in a tie game situation. It was baffling by Jason Garrett making that call.
Dog, I'll bet someone 2,000 that the Cowboys don't win one playoff game. Bounce the first round. That team stinks.
Who would they be at home against? Who would they be? Minnesota, I guess?
Stink. They stink. They put up 500 yards. Everyone acts like Dak Prescott's Joe Montana. Dude, you played against nobodies. Eagles are nobodies in the secondary. And you still almost won. Donnie, that's what's so crazy. The Eagles stink right now. And they still almost beat the Cowboys. In Dallas. Give me a break. You ran all over that team and still you needed a bobbled ball to beat them. Come on, man.
Another interesting one, Jeff. How about if you revisit the other one? Because we're Eagle fans, I get it, but it was a really interesting game. There are a couple key situations. How about on the extra point to tie the game, the personal foul called on Dallas, which would have set you up at the 1-yard line for a 2-point conversion? You don't take that? Yeah. Did you think you're going to go out there and get stopped on defense?
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Typical Doug Peterson. We don't ever do anything that makes sense. When everything doesn't make sense, though, that's when we run the fucking. I mean, come on, man. Like, I get it, but I forgot. I was doing a Periscope tonight, and I forgot that there was a penalty. Because someone asked me, should you go for 2 there? And I'm thinking, okay, well, no.
At the 2, I probably don't. But
then I found out there was a penalty
in your favor.
Another one, Donnie. Why you accepted the penalty on the last drive? Why did you accept the penalty there?
I actually agreed with that because you're trying to get them out of field goal range at all costs. You need them out of field goal range. That was the whole point. I agreed with you. If you would have said the very next play would have been a first down.
Fair enough. If that's the case, then don't fucking play 10 yards off every receiver. And basically, that's Jim Schwartz is probably fucking coming in his pants saying, oh my God, we can give up a fucking field goal here. So we don't give up a touchdown. Hey, dickhead. You know the score's tied. You don't want to give up anything. He's giving up 10 fucking yards every play. I've had it with that defense. I've had it. Get rid of him. Get him out of here. Fucking move on from that shithead. He stinks. I hate that Jim Schwartz. I hate him. That stupid look on his face. I hate him. And then he gives no answers. Let's move on. Let's go to a real defense. Let's go to a team that really plays fucking football. Let's go to a real team that's going to win the fucking Super Bowl. The Chicago Bears, baby. How about that? Defense wins championships, motherfucker. And look at that. Big win last night. Donnie, they are fucking good on defense, Donnie, those Bears. They are really, really good.
Yeah, Callahan went down, looks like late in the game with an injury. I don't know how serious that's going to be, but this team's fun to watch, Jeff. They have it at all levels, which is what you need to be a really good defense. Do you have to blitz with that team, Jeff? Absolutely not, man. Leonard Floyd, Khalil Mack absolutely destroying you. And then you have 2 really good D tackles to compound that on top of it. Super fast, athletic linebackers, unbelievable safety play, and great cornerback. Is there something that we're missing here? And you play in a city that's built for your style of play. Mobile quarterback on offense, run the football, make a couple plays if you need, and lean on your defense. It's actually a shame, Jeff, that they're going to probably have to go play either out in L.A. in nice weather or down in that dome in New Orleans, because it would be really fun if the Super Bowl went through Chicago. Like those teams had to go to Chicago and play that defense, which you see them give so many problems to teams. They're a fun team. They're like a throwback team to me. I love watching them play. I love watching the Ravens play. I love watching the Chicago Bears play because defense rules the roost.
Yeah, they're so terrific, aren't they? Defensively, I love watching them. Just love it. Ron Fig, Cowboys are getting to big. Oh yeah, they're getting to me. By the way,
hey, the Cowboys take a look at that. They're a good
take a look
team.
At that shirt,
win,
cause. Take a look at that shirt, cause. How many playoff games have they won in your lifetime? 1, maybe. The Cowboys. I love all these Cowboy fans. Oh, fuck the Eagles, bro. They've won like 1 playoff game in your lifetime. They won a championship, 93. Bro, you weren't even alive when they did that.
They get any reports back, Jeff, on Zach Martin's injury? Anybody out there in the chat box? That's a monster injury if that goes down.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I know they were hanging around him late in that game. But yeah, I love this Bears team. Mitch got to get it going.
Cowboys, 15 hours ago, Jeff. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones tells me they're concerned about right guard Zach Martin after leaving the game with a left knee injury. It does not appear to be any structural damage and is similar to the injury he had earlier in the year. So we'll see what comes up there. But keep an eye on that. That's their best offensive lineman right now. I mean, Tyron Smith's really good, but Zach Martin's just an animal.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. By the way, Donnie, since '96, there's been 2 playoff wins for Dallas. Just if anyone's curious. Awesome. Let's move on here. Finally, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. You know, Donnie, I didn't see much of this game. We were watching the Eagle game, so I didn't see that. What happened here?
Yeah, here's the problem with Mike Tomlin again, which you run into, and it gets to the same point every single week that we talk about it. These guys are like high-paid executives, which he's a CEO of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He doesn't have to worry about the play calling on the offense. He doesn't have to worry about the play calling of the defense, so he can oversee the entire team, make the key decisions, make the right moves out there because he has time to think about it. The clock's running down on the play clock, Jeff. He doesn't have to call the play. He can watch the game, stay in the flow, which I love when a head coach is just the CEO of a team because I think he can do a lot more than just call plays or do other things. Late in the ball game, Jeff, the Steelers have, but first of all, I'm going to talk about this one, then another one. They have 2 timeouts. And the Oakland Raiders are inside the 10-yard line. I believe it was 3rd down coming up on. 2nd down play they run, stays in bounds. The Steelers up, 4 points at the time? Up 4 points at the time. Do not call a timeout, Jeff, which they would have had 2 left in the game, which just in case the Raiders scored a touchdown, which they did, would have left the Steelers with about a minute to go as opposed to 20 seconds to go. Can you explain that on any certain level, what you're doing as a head football coach? You have no responsibilities but to be the game manager, let 38 seconds go off the clock that could have saved you and actually got you closer, and maybe your kicker doesn't slip to end the ball game.
You hate Mike Tomlin, don't you?
Well, I see that, like, I don't think he has a method. I think he's a very good, like, motivational guy, but he messes up game time decisions way too much. You know, I always joke about him where he calls, like, the 2-point conversion out of nowhere because he's bored on the sideline. Like, this is my chance. Let's go for 2. I don't understand. You can't mess those situations up. I don't get it.
Let's go for 2.
Yeah, just like out of nowhere. But the other one, Jeff, how about this one? Big Ben gets hurt in the first half. They have a lead. Josh Dobbs comes in and plays just some awful football. And Tomlin lets it slip back in the second half and says, we could have got Ben back in there sooner, but we were in the flow of the game. I don't know, man, Mike. Maybe he's in over his head. I don't know.
I got to say something here. Okay. Now, there are so many great commenters on these chats, so many great comments. We might possibly have the stupidest comment that I've ever seen on this chat.
I didn't even see it. Go ahead.
Cut it out.
What is it?
Eagles have been the doormat of the division forever. Are you fucking blind? Have you been fucking deaf for the past 20 years? Have you been fucking Helen Keller got a live TV? You maybe missed the 2 fucking Super Bowl appearances and the 1 Super Bowl win. You must have missed the 6 NFC's championships under Big Andy Reid. You must have missed all the winning the Eagles have done in the last 20 years. Give me a fucking break. If you're going to come on this chat, come correct. Not with bullshit like that. Some bullshit-ass crap that makes no fucking sense. What the hell are you talking about? Give me a break. Eagles have been the doormats of what? Doormats of what? If anybody's a fucking doormat, it's the Cowboys. What is this guy talking about? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You know what this does do, Jeff? Is this line up a monster extension for Dak and Jason Garrett?
Of course it does.
By the way, he's got to give a shout out to Zeke Elliott. I think he touched the ball 40 times yesterday with a concussion out there and gutted it out. That's pretty impressive.
Got to wonder how those concussion rules are working out for the NFL, Donnie.
No, that's the greatest thing of all time, man. If you want to stay in the game, you stay in the game. End of story. So, but he gutted it. Hey, man, if you covered that ticket, if you had that ticket and you won the game, man, you got to send Send them a little stuff. What's the best hitting concussion of all time for you? You remember any of them? Any special ones where that guy's just going to play right through it? One of them actually cost me money, so I had to give a shout out to that guy. Do you remember any special ones? Like, he's got a concussion. I can't even believe he's back out there.
I can't say I remember, no.
My favorite one of all time, which one of the worst beats I've ever taken, which we've taken a lot of bad beats. Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots, Super Bowl. Julian Edelman out on his feet and told the referee and told the coaches on the sideline that he hurt his knee on the play. Shake the cobwebs out, came back in. Patriots ended up winning that football game. Unbelievable kid, man. Showed it out. I couldn't even hate on it, Jeff, because he gets knocked out of the game, they're going to lose that game. That one was on fire. But he was out on his feet and said his knee hurt, not his head, and they never checked his head. It was tremendous. Then after the game, he was diagnosed with a concussion.
And some of these kids, man, they love football. They don't want to come out ever. Donnie, do you want to get to this game now, or do you want to wait till later on the show?
Oh, we could go right through it. Why not?
Okay, we got the Minnesota Vikings heading on the road to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Donnie, I'm having trouble with my computer. What do you got on odd here?
Now, still sitting. Go ahead.
3 and what's the total here? Totals
46.
46.
Yeah,
46. 346. Donnie, what do you think about this game? Obviously, Cousins, he's not been good in prime time. 6-11 ATS in his career in prime time, and this Vikings team has not been good in big games. In games they have to have, we know what the Vikings are. They've been very poor, frankly. What do you think here? 2 playoff teams, Donnie, or at least one playoff team right now. 2 teams that are in the playoff hunt. Big game for both these groups. Do you like the dog here, or do you go with the home
this
team?
This is a good one, because you have some interest. I wish both of these teams were really healthy coming into the football game at certain positions. Trey Wayne's going to miss this game as the cornerback. You already know, Jeff. Mike Hughes out as well. So down 2.
Yes.
Where have we seen this before, Jeff? Down 2 of your top 3 cornerbacks.
Yep.
And let's also not forget, on the opposite side of the field, a guy who is an elite level cornerback in Xavier Rhodes has not been himself this year, injured his ankle, injured his hamstring, not playing good football in the season. So you have a guy basically with one leg on the other side. Now, you have some decent safety play there back for the Minnesota Vikings and a really good athletic front 7 that can get some pressure on the quarterback. And then you have on the opposite side, Jeff, there's no Doug Baldwin, or Doug Baldwin on one leg tonight that's going to play, which is a key ingredient in that team if you're going to really expose 2 or 3 or all 3 of those cornerbacks that the Minnesota Vikings have. But they've been getting some good play out of the other guys, Tyler Lockett and Moore at wide receiver. And Russell Wilson just does what he does, right? I mean, it's exactly, you see him in a primetime game, he's at home, he's going to make some plays with his feet. But Minnesota's pretty good against the run, and that's the bread and butter of that Seattle Seahawks offense. But it just gets back to the fact, look, you had 2 tough games already, back-to-back for the Minnesota Vikings. They're in a must-win situation, but you played on the road last week on the East Coast, got beaten prime time. Now you're going to come back, and you got to fly all the way out to Seattle, one of the toughest places to play, with the red-hot Seattle Seahawks team. Whether or not Doug Baldwin plays, I think, is a little bit big, but are we going against Seattle in this one, Jeff? Are we going against them?
Yeah, I mean, the problem I have here, though, is, you look at Seattle, I mean, look, a bit one-dimensional. I mean, we know what they're going to do, run the football. You got a Miami or a Minnesota team very good against the run, one of the best in the league, actually, against the run. 6th in the league, giving up just 3.7 yards a carry, under 100 a game. They've also forced 11 fumbles, Donnie. That's impressive. 11 fumbles on defense. That's a wide margin, Donnie. 11 fumbles. I don't know. This is a tough one. I could see making cases for both sides here. I got to be honest. I kind of like the Vikings. I kind of like the Vikings.
Yeah, it's a shame, because I usually have that reaction too, because I know it's all on the line for both teams, and it's hard just to win in Seattle. But sometimes you come in, like, Seattle's defense has been playing good, but they are susceptible in the back end. Like, if you can promise me, Jeff, like a healthy Stephon Diggs in this game and Thielen, they should do whatever they want against that secondary, the Seattle Seahawks, and move the football. But I've seen it a lot, man. Like, Russell Wilson just does crazy, crazy shit at home. And Kirk Cousins, if you heat him up in the pocket, get him in a tough environment, he's going to give you 1 or 2 interceptions in that football game. And we'll just see if the Seattle Seahawks can make that play. But there's a lot of question marks. Again, like Diggs and that knee, if they're both healthy at wide receiver, they'll go up and down the field on the Seattle team. But I can't guarantee that they're healthy. That's the only issue with this one. It's a tough one. It really is.
No, I know. I hear you on that. I'll lean Vikings. I think they're a decent matchup against that run defense, or it's that run offense.
Yeah.
But I hate betting against them. Seahawks at home. I'm not a big fan of this Vikings team either. Not going to be a game that I'll be interested in.
Heavy tickets on Seattle's side. Line really not moving. We'll see as it goes throughout the day, and maybe if Doug Baldwin doesn't play, but how healthy is he going to – look, if you don't practice all week, Jeff, and they're going to tell you, well, get out there and run around a little bit before in pregame, what are you going to actually do out there technically? Not much.
I think the Vikings do, though. Need a big one here. Need a win. Need to get the job done in a big game. I don't really see the sense in either side, I guess, but if you feel like betting it, and you have a side, go ahead and bet it. But I don't really see it here. Donnie, let's go through one more here. Let's just get through this college hoops game. I think we get 4 or 5 games on the card today. I mean, there's very little.
Not great. Not great tonight. No.
You don't even have any added games. You actually have 4 games on the card here, and most of them are you have 2 late games and 2 early games. Donnie, but you want to take a look at Hofstra Manhattan. What do you got?
Yeah, we got almost 50-50 ticket split early, Jeff. 51% on Manhattan. Line opens up at 7 across the board, 7.5 across the board. Now looks like it's 7. Not a ton of line movement, but some good betting action, two-way action on tickets itself. Over under at 130.5 for those Dutchmen, as I like to call them, not the Pride, Jeff, versus Manhattan Jaspers.
This is kind of an interesting game. You have a Manhattan team that, on the surface is poor. I mean, and no one will tell you different. They can't shoot the ball. They're not particularly good defensively, and they're actually quite hard to watch offensively. I mean, 40.5% from 2-point percentage. Their effective field goal percentage is low. And you're facing a team here in Hofstra who are up tempo. They could score the basketball quick. And Donnie, Hofstra, number 1 in the country in free throw percentage. When you put them on the line, they make their free throws. That's just what they do. But they're still a team that struggle at times defensively. They're not great against the three-point shot. And Donnie, why, for me with Manhattan, why you look at the last 2 games for them, they've actually played pretty well, and they've been in those games. Stony Brook, a good basketball team. Fordham's actually played pretty well this season. 2 close losses. You look at against Elon, lost by 6. Lost to Northern Kentucky by 6. They have 2 blowout losses. But, Donnie, the big news is Paulie Polacap is back for Manhattan. And that's a big gain for them.
Yeah,
Polacap's been out. He's back. He's playing again. And it's no secret that in the last 2 games since he's been back, they've been a better basketball team. Am I going to tell you that I think you should take the 7 with Manhattan tonight? Honestly, yeah, probably. Because here's what Manhattan's going to do, Donnie. If you know anything about the Jaspers, they're going to try to force turnovers, which is what they do under Steve Masiello. And when they get the basketball in the half court, they're very slow, very methodical. This is a real clash of styles. Hofstra very fast, very quick. Manhattan very slow. Want to be methodical in the half court, but they're going to try to steal the basketball from you. You look at their defense, Donnie, 2nd in the country in opponent turnover percentage. They're turning the ball over 27% of the time. That's impressive. Problem is, Hofstra not going to really oblige. They don't turn the ball over too much. So they're going to make Manhattan beat them in the half court. Can they dirty it up and try to keep this one close? I don't know. I want to say they can at home under Masiello. I think Polacap back. It's a big win for Manhattan. But, look, you're really grasping for straws on a 4-game card, to be honest. Won't have many of my money this card.
Now, he hasn't played this year so far? Is that true?
No, Polacap has played. He's played the last 2 games.
Got you. Yeah. How's he factored in those games?
He's been good. I mean, he's they're
24 in his last game. Yeah, yep, sure.
Yeah, they're hanging in games and they're doing a nice job. And that's kind of, for me, Manhattan was a total fade. But with Polacap back, Paulie Polacap's one of the better players in that conference. He is on a bad team, but the one thing you love about Hofstra here, Donnie, is they shoot 80% from the free throw line. That is And that's the best in the country. And that's hard to, if they run out here and win, get up by 17, it's going to be very difficult for Manhattan to come back. But yeah, we'll see. It's a fascinating game if you really look at it a little bit. But Donnie, that's going to be it for today. We thank all the people checking in. We hope you had a great weekend and hope you enjoy your Monday. Donnie, before we go, I want to tell everyone I got some news. We got a lot of people in here tonight, guys. 9:00 Eastern, our new nighttime show. Viva La Vegas is back, but it's at a new name. It's going to be called Off the Board. Me and Blackjack Fletcher tonight, 9:00 Eastern. We're going to be on for 2 hours every night, live betting, recapping the night in sports, taking phone calls. We're going to have phone calls live on the air as you watch a show on YouTube. We're going to have all sorts of graphics, and it's going to be fun. We're bringing back the show that we used to have on Blog Talk Radio. I know a lot of you tuned into that. Some of you maybe didn't, but I urge you, check it out tonight. If you don't know Blackjack, he's quite a character. Him and I have an interesting rapport together. We're looking forward to the show tonight. So make sure you check it out. 9:00 Eastern in the UK. Someone's asking me what time is that in the UK. I believe that is 2:00 in the morning. So if you're up, we'd like to see you. So yeah, check us out tonight. And guys, if you're interested, and I want to make this clear, Blackjack a big NHL guy. So if you're an NHL guy, you want to get some info, you want to talk NHL, he'll be on there to talk NHL. So make sure you check that out tonight, 9:00, our first show here on SBR. It's called Off the Board. Donnie, will you be checking that out?
I will be checking it out. There's not much going on. Y'all tune in right for the game. Maybe catch some second half action with you guys. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and we will. We'll have some good NBA as well. I've been doing very well in the NBA, and I know Blackjack has a good opinion on that too. So we'll get into all that and more tonight. 9:00 Off the Board. Make sure you check it out here at SBR. Everyone have a great day. Donnie, thanks as always. Great work by you. And we will see you all at 3:00 on the radio show. Have a great day. Bye-bye.